So I'm here at a Chevy storage lot right now because GM just reported their earnings. And they actually smashed.
GM, the company, easily beat Wall Street expectations for the third quarter.
And I think it's due to a lot of things that they're doing right that a lot of the other automakers are doing wrong.
Stellantis and Ford's disappointing earnings weighing on the broader sector here. You can see those stocks.
Both Ford and Stellantis are really suffering right now, and it seems like GM is actually thriving. So what are they doing right that the other brands are doing wrong?
GM at this point is raising its earnings guidance for the full year.
And here we go. It's very rare that I ever see these at dealerships anymore, and this is a storage lot, so it might be why it might be that they're hiding this thing back here, because they would rather you buy a bigger SUV that costs more money. But Malibus, they're doing away with these. They're not making them anymore. They don't make enough money on them, so they've cut them. But your price on this one's $28,600.
That stock this morning up by 4.5%. This would be a 52-week high at $51.80.
I know GM has put up some good numbers, but I think this is a section where they're actually failing, and a lot of these manufacturers are failing and going to continue to fail because they're getting away from the more affordable sub $30,000 vehicle. I know they don't make as much money on those, but I think they could do a lot more volume. And if they would lean into that, one of the brands, especially in the US, I think they would sell the crap out of them, just because there's just a market for them. And a lot of these manufacturers are throwing away that market, even if they just offered something in that lower $20,000 range. And here we go. Here's your affordable models right now for Chevy. So we'll look up at it. It's the 2025 Trailblazer. You're going to have your Blazers. You're going to have your Chevy Trax. But these are going to be your smaller SUVs right now. They don't do four-door sedans anymore. And you got your MSRP of $29,000. Nope, that's not with the options. With the options, $34,674. That is now your affordable kind of line in the sand. Is what I've seen is anywhere from $30,000 to $35,000 is about the most affordable thing that you're going to find on a lot of these American-made dealerships. So we just looked around, and this is the cheapest thing that we can actually find on this lot. This is a Ford Escape, and you're still paying. Check this out. It's still $39,000. And it's no secret right now, Ford, GM, what's leading the way are trucks, number one, but also these big SUVs. So we have a Chevy Suburban I want to check out, and I think this is a Tahoe. Nope, also Suburban. That one looks smaller for some reason. Is it smaller? I don't know. Anyway, we'll check both prices. Actually, there's a Z71. We'll check the Z71 instead of this. This is a Suburban Premier. It's a 2024 still. MSRP price is $85,730, but I want to come over here and check the Z71 package on this. I actually like this. It looks like it's got a little bit more lift on it. Yeah, this is good. I would rather have it black, but this is very nice. I like this package. 2024 Suburban, four-wheel drive, Z71. And your price on this one is $79,000. So we relate this to, okay, what's in Jeep? That's going to be the Grand Wagoneer, right? How much does a Grand Wagoneer cost? Well, $120,000. This Wagoneer right here is $123,000. So what you going to pick? I'm probably going with Chevy or GM. And then, I mean, you look at Ford too, the Expeditions, the higher trim levels. I mean, they're $90,000, $96,000, $97,000. This is why GM's winning, I think. I'm very interested to see Ford and Stellantis' earnings coming up. I would anticipate that they're not going to be anywhere close to as good as what GM has put up. Here's a nice truck right here. I think this is the highest trim level from Chevy. This is the High Country model. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But this is a 2500 also, and it's a 2025 Silverado High Country four-wheel drive. $92,000. So this is going to be basically the highest thing that you can buy in a truck from Chevy, as far as without having some crazy lift package or anything like that. And typically what I'll see as your counterpart coming from like Ford or Stellantis, it's going to be over $100,000. So Chevy still in that regard, GM still in that regard, similar level of truck as far as trim level, but you're paying I mean, $10,000–$20,000 less in a lot of cases, and that's what's pushing consumers to buy more Chevys, more GMs right now than a Ford, than a Stellantis truck.
You were right. Our full-size pickup truck sales were up 5%. We picked up 3.5 points of market share.
There's people out there, they're only going to buy American, and if they want a small four-door sedan and they want to buy American, there's not an option for them. And it's a sad thing, but it's something that is going to have to take some decisions at the top to change before we ever see any of those small sedans again. And it's going to take consumers that just stop buying trucks, stop buying SUVs. And since we've seen that that GM has put up great numbers because they're selling a lot of these trucks, because they're selling a lot of these SUVs, it's probably not going to be anything that changes anytime soon. So I just want to outline real quick. We're at this GM storage lot, this Chevy storage lot, and I mean, you see the Chevys back here, but if you look right here behind me, there's a lot of Ram 1500, like they're going to be fleet vehicles, and these are the classics. These are the ones that Stellantis has gotten rid of. I know this video is about GM, but just while I'm here, I want to show it to you. But a lot of these these fleet vehicles are what really, they're the only thing that's even remotely doing well for a lot of these, like you think of Ford, Stellantis, the companies are actually hurting quite a bit right now. But this is a Ram 1500 Classic. This is what they just got rid of. And I don't see the window sticker, but oh no, there's one over here. I want to show it to you. But this is what Stellantis is getting away from, and this one's $47,000. And this is something that I think, relate it back to GM, but this is one thing that I think GM does well, where we're having problems with this with Ford and Ram, Stellantis, is that, okay, Ford and Stellantis are leaning more into the really high-end products. Case in point right here, Stellantis has cut production of their classic 1500. This is the cheapest offering of the Ram truck that they have, and they're doing away with it. They're cutting production. They're getting rid of the shifts that are producing these. They're not selling them anymore.
Stellantis is laying off workers as a, quote, necessary action, they're saying.
And it's the lowest, it's the cheapest truck that they offer. And I think GM is doing a much better job at having a lot more offerings for different segments of consumers, whereas Stellantis is leaning just into their high margin products and going after the things that they make the most money on, and they're not trying to lean into things that consumers actually want, showing that they're getting rid of the cheapest truck that they actually have. This is something that GM does a lot better than, in my opinion, what Stellantis and Ford are doing right now. All right, so check this out. There's some of your big boy trucks right here. We got white, black, black. I like this blue color though. It's the Chevy 2500. It's the heavy duty. It's got the 6.6 in it. But I want to see the price on it. It's a 2025 Silverado 2500 crew cab LTZ, and price on it $77,000. So here we go. We got a bunch of these EV Blazers all here behind me, and I'll show you the price of some of them in just a second. But I want to point out a quote that came out of the earnings, and they said that they were going to focus on optimizing their ICE margins and working to make EVs profitable. So what does that mean? That means that they're going to work on, let's see here, they're making more money off these big trucks. They're making more money off these big SUVs, because those big SUVs, those big trucks, they have to pay for all of this, because they're still losing money. Even though they're doing better than Ford, they're doing better than Stellantis in this regard, they're still losing a lot of money in the EV space, and they're finding that, okay, well, consumers don't really want these things. This is something that Mary Barra, the CEO of GM, has said in the last couple quarters, is that they want to pull back on their production of EVs, because, I mean, it's easy to see, right? They're just not profitable, and they're not able to sell enough of them to be able to get their costs down. So what are they doing? They're making fewer of them, and they're putting more production in things that they're actually making money on. Gas vehicles, gas Blazers, gas Equinox, you're thinking your Chevy Silverados, your Tahoes, your Yukons, things like that, things that they're actually making a lot of money on, and things that dealers are actually able to move. So moving production into things that make money and cutting production in things that don't make money. And this is a big place where GM is winning, and Ford, $4.5 I think billion of losses later, they're not. Is this not the ugliest thing that you've ever seen? This is the EV Silverado. It looks like an El Camino. I mean, look, it's like an Avalanche. I don't know if you remember that truck, but also the Cadillac had one. I think it was just an Escalade. I don't even remember. But anyway, this is a El Camino, and it's an EV, so that's a double whammy. But all of these trucks, all these gas trucks right here, are paying for this electric Silverado to come in, to be in existence, because the high margin products, the products that people want, those are the ones that are making money, and this is the thing that's losing money. So anyway, let's check the MSRP on this thing. It's a 2024 Silverado EV and $80,000. $80,000. What I will say is, for a similar thing, I think the F-150 Lightning is a little bit more expensive than that. Might be, it's probably right at the same, but I haven't had a lot of good things to say about Ford, but what I will say is the Ford EV truck, the Ford F-150 Lightning, looks way better. This thing is hideous. I don't know whoever came up with this design right here and made this look like this, they need to be fired. All right, I think I might have said that these were EV Blazers earlier. Blazer, Equinox, whatever, same thing. Who cares? Who cares? It's a 2024 Equinox EV 2LT, and price on it, if you can see it over there, I think it says $49,000. That feels like a tough sell. It feels like a tough sell. So what are we going to compare it to? We're going to compare it to a Model Y, and I believe a Model Y, you're paying similar and maybe just a hair less for that Model Y. And we know that most consumers, not gonna say all, but most consumers, if they're thinking about an EV, they're thinking about one name, and they're thinking about Tesla. So what has to happen in the EV space is, if you want to overcome who is basically the leader, at least in the US, for EVs right now, that Tesla name, you're gonna have to be a lot cheaper to entice people to buy your product versus a Tesla. And the $49,000 price point, it's not going to do it. So in the last quarter, GM delivered more vehicles than any other automaker in the US. And what that tells me is that dealers are still willing to take GM vehicles, and not like, it's funny that I'm walking right in front of a Ram right when I'm saying this. So we have Stellantis dealers that are turning down allocations on all these trucks. It's so much so that they're going on, I mean, they're tweeting, they have open letters to the CEO, they have dealerships suing, they have dealerships that are trying to cancel their franchise contracts so they can get out of allocation, so they can get out of vehicles that they have sitting on their lot. And you have Ford dealers that are maybe not as bad as Stellantis dealers, but they're also turning down allocations right now. So those vehicles, those trucks are not getting delivered to these dealerships when they're turning down these allocations. But GM, the Chevy dealers, these GMC dealers, they're still taking vehicles. And this is why I think we're seeing the numbers come in now that, okay, GM is delivering more vehicles than a brand like Ford. I mean, Ford F-150 is the #1 selling truck in the US. You would think Ford dealers, when Ford is leaning more into trucks, also GM is also leaning more into trucks, you think that the dealers that are selling the #1 selling truck in the US would be taking more trucks than the GMC Sierra or the Chevy Silverado. But no, it's not the case right now. It's that GM is delivering more vehicles than its counterparts, and it's because really of probably production management. And Stellantis and Ford have not done it very well, so their dealers are now overrun. They're having to turn out allocations, and this is costing the manufacturers sales.